History is a complete and utter lie. Many of you are learning that. Why is what I'm saying so important today? Why are the stories, the writings, the lessons, the videos from individuals who can be classed as baby boomers so important now? We've probably have maybe this many veterans of World War II left on the planet. My father passed 3 months shy of 100 on Christmas Day last year. So he would have been, he's 100. So you've got maybe a couple more at 101, 102, 103. You're probably not going to get past 104 before all individuals that have lived and experienced life prior to World War II and later, that they live through that, are gone. There's no one obviously living to experience, to know in the world from the late 1800s through World War I, which was 1718, because they were birthing the children that came in the 20s, which were the World War II babies, who birthed my generation, the baby boomers. And now I'm 73 and a half, and those who are coming, who are left in my generation, in 25 years, give or take, will be all gone. And what that says is that we, the baby boomers, I am in the last generation, the only generation to have lived in two worlds, the one before the technologies of today and in the technologies of today. So that when I say technologies, I'm meaning as television has been influenced. And most specifically in this country, the Americas, you've had television since 50s, early 50s, maybe beginning 50s, commercially, for the people. I got it in Australia in 1958. That's when it came to Australia, and that was, my father was in the electronics business, so we had one of the very first ones. I was 9 years old, so my growing up, between the first increment of my growing up, was without all of those influences. Why is that important? Because the generations before that I've experienced, our childhood imagination, our childhood planning and programming, and how our brain and mind function, were not interfered with, except through nature. Radio was completely, it was the airwaves, but it was analog. It was a completely different vehicle to television, because radio activated your imagination to follow the story in your mind and create scenarios. It built up and created a power of creativity. When television came in, it went into the visual cortexes. And so it was basically telling you what your imagination should look like, or do, or be, or form. So it's the visual Because it's not just looking out and going and playing outside and going, oh, well, let's see what we can do with the snow or what we can do here. When in my era, in the television eras, you are slowly being programmed. And now, as David Icke says in his latest interview at the very end, if you know the end game and look back at history, you know how it's being played out, how it was all played out. And it is absolutely true. Where you are today is the end game at this point in time today. And if you look back at your life and see what you've done and how you've done it and who's been involved and all of the choices and the parents, everything, then you'll see how you've got to today. And to get to beyond today, you can make different choices once you've got a clearer view of yourself. And that's, so now I'm looking at the end game, knowing the plan that these SOBs of power and arrogance and ego, godlike, whatever, no matter what side of the aisle they're on, where they are, who they are, they're all guilty because they're all holding secrets. And anywhere there's secrets, no matter who's holding them, there are lies. And you've all been lied to for years and years and years. However, when you look back and you starting up, going back to the early television, the really parochial, bizarre, immature television of children's programs, of family programs, of early movies, in all different genres. And particularly when the ones that are connected to space, lost in space, what all of these early ones, things we grew up with, and Flintstones and things like this. If you have a mind that you're able to discern and break down and go, whoa, wait a minute, what they were telling us back then? They were telling us everything that is happening right now. That they want. Why do they want to get rid of my generation? Because we're the last ones to have evidence of being truly non-invaded human beings. As close to that as you can get. The ones who are not jabbed. Early vaccinations, they were nothing of what is going on now. Don't even bring that up. Early vaccination, no. We're talking about AI, nano technology put into people. And now you're having the insurance companies saying, we do not insure a genetically modified living entity, whether it be a plant or a person. Meaning, if you've got a piece of technology in you're genetically modified. This is complete and utter BS. So why do you think they're censoring all sorts of books in the name of Christian purity? There's nothing Christian or pure about any of it. It's so that you will, all of good information, all of the history of the past, in all sorts of ways that these incredible authors write, from my generation backwards, is wiped out. Some of you might be familiar with Tartaria in the Mudflood, and there's a lot of information coming out that people are digging up remains of cities, of huge stones stelae in Easter Island. They're not just like this much. There's, 10 stories worth of stone, carved stone underneath. What they're digging out of cities, they're finding cities under cities under cities. Why do you think wars are destroying the Middle East? The incredible wealth of knowledge. Because they don't want you to know what has been. They want you just to be like this. So all World War II, any connection to the 1800s, late 1800s to mid-20th century, they've gone. Virtually just about completed with every person who has witnessed World War II in some fashion, particularly physically, and the knowledge of the world back then and where we've got to today, gone. Soon, with baby boomers gone, all of the evidence of Vietnam, of all the Iraq wars, all of the mind-controlled military, the pretend space programs, the pretend this, the secret space. If anything's a secret, it's a lie. If you want to have a space program, say it's a space program. Bring it out. But if it's a secret space program, it's a bunch of lies, it's a bunch of power, it's a bunch of people making a hell of a lot of money for a lot of different reasons. If we had med beds and we've got this, why aren't they out here? Because God forbid the public find out. Well, the public knows a lot more. And that's why we speak. Clarissa Pikola-Estes, in her latest piece, it was last year, I was doing some sculpting and I was listening to her lectures, her writings on audio, on The Dangerous Old Woman. It's like, oh, that's right. The Dangerous Old Woman. And I do this through complete and utter love. Because the world I've seen through my travels, through the years, through my memories, through the people and my family, is beautiful and powerful. Yeah, it's got problems. But the infiltration of this per se artificial intelligence, which is not intelligent, it should be AM, artificial manipulation, because that's what it is. To make you something that God did not create. Anything that can be patented is inorganic, non-living, has no life force, because it is not allowed to patent nature, any living organism or force. Therefore, to make you patentable, you have to become a robot. And how do they do that? They make you one by changing your gene code. However, I still firmly believe, and I will say it over and over again, dissolve, neutralize, and purify in the most powerful way you can. Believe it. Believe that whatever is inside of you can be neutralized. You can pull the plug of the extension cord out of the wall, and you can not plug it in to yourself. You cannot plug it into anything. And all you have left is an extension cord with no power. Pull out all of the stops, the plugs, the charges through your mind. The brain is a muscle. The mind will neutralize through the heart, the breath, and your absolute will of intent for the truth. Your absolute will of intent for the truth. That is raising the consciousness. For when there is that powerful intent of truth, and truth is not man-made. Truth is not this religion over that religion, or this science over that science, or this politician over that politician. They are all liars. Because the truth is not static. The truth, the will of intent of the truth is ever evolving and ever morphing. Because when you get to the truth like with the burn. When I got to the truth of that piece of where that the experience of what was played out, I was shown that's that piece, but that's not where it ends. There's more. That is what you have to hold. There's always more, but it's not this way. It is this way. And this is the ascension we are stepping into. And it is an ascension that we become the active vehicle in. We are the Merkaba. We know the sacred geometry. We are sacred geometry. We are the Merkaba of the field. And we put the images around us of whatever the particular Merkaba we're drawing, because they're not all going to be the same. And they're not all going to be digitally measured exact. Because nothing in nature is absolutely exactly symmetrical or identical. Because nature does not do that. There's always flaws in exactness, in measurements, in balance. So if you're trying to do something exactly on the computer to get an exact sacred geometrical design, forget it. Hand draw it. Hand draw it as close as the measurements you can. It will have more power than a digital one. And I had that measured with an architect and his CAD program. My hand-drawn mandala, and he says, "Oh, do you mind if I correct the measurements and do it on my computer?" I was like, "Sure." Because he was going to help me put it into we were working on trying to get into 3D. And I said, "Sure." And so my mandala was right here, and he worked on it for half an hour, whatever the time frame was, and he got it exact. Because he's learned to see exactly. anything that's light out. And you put it up there, and we're looking at them both. And he looks at me, I'm looking at him, and I'm going, oh my God. What I'm seeing, wow. And he looks at me, and he looks at the both again. And he said, yours has more power. And I said, I saw that too. I said, I thought it was just me. She says, no. He said, it doesn't look right when it's exact. He says, I would never, ever have guessed. He says, I thought it needed to be exact. And nothing in nature is exact. He says, I see that now. You have to be very discerning. And you have to be very aware and willing to take a chance. My dear friends, as you can see, it's snowing a bit more. Well, may we have some amazing snow. We definitely need it. Mount Shasta is going to be looking beautiful again, thankfully. I bid you farewell for now. Thank you for being present in the energy today. May your life be blessed.